Everybody, I'm glad you're here. Very honored to be with some good friends, some longtime friends. And as always, the infamous Tara Kalin to my left.
Hi,
My name's Russ McClellan. This is Small Towns Unscripted. To my right is Desiree Phelps. Been a partner in crime next door together since we were about 5 years old. And then Mona
Ferguson.
and Sandy Miller. How are you guys?
We are good. Thank you for having us.
Oh, man, we're so lucky to be part of this podcast.
Totally.
And it's something that just kind of happened naturally. I think we were just talking about that a little bit where, you know, how did this even become a thing? And so it's I feel lucky, and I think we all do, because people are really gracious with their time and they want to talk and they want to share their stories. And part of this, I think you guys can resonate if you've lived here a while, and you guys both have, right? A long while, and we'll get into that. But you often know of people, or you knew them in a specific time, or you knew them in a specific industry, but maybe that was 20 years ago.
Or 30.
Or 30, or 40.
I'll still be like, oh, you need to go past, the Hubbard's house, and then you go, and it's 40 years ago. That they might not be there in that house anymore.
Yeah.
Well, if you've been here, we all know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
And so that's it. Like, get to know people instead of them. Get to know them. And even if you think you do, you probably don't as well as you think, or maybe their life is taking some turns.
I'm sorry, how long have you known the Miller family?
Yeah, right.
Since I was 5.
And you just said, I didn't know that.
I did not know that. Fun facts we learned about Sandy already, and
Right?
we weren't even on air yet.
Well, let's talk about it. What were you guys talking about?
Just what
Sandy said she's from Seattle.
I met Gary Miller, who grew up here and graduated from high school in 1957. Not too long after your mother
My mom
did.
was 56 and my dad was 52.
Yeah. So
Apple
I met
blossom.
him at WSU, and one curious fact about it is that I was we registered for classes the old-fashioned way at Bowler Gym, and you stood in the line for if you're going to take PE or biology, whatever. You stood in there and got your class assignment. And we were in the M line because my name was Miller before I became Sandy
no
Miller.
way!
When they got married. Yeah.
So we have a lot of grandparents
Oh
Miller.
my gosh.
We sent in our college applications, and they'd be like, send it back to us. We're like, no, we need your mother's maiden name. I'm like, it is my mother's maiden name.
wow.
They're both Millers. Yeah.
But we've had fun.
So you both were WSU?
We didn't graduate. No, we decided
You met there.
we met there, and he was a
Your
junior.
MRS degree. Right?
Yep. And mother.
MRS degree and mother. That's a good
Anyway,
one.
we met there, and he told me he wanted to get married and have a family and raise apples, and we had to go to Lake Chelan to do that. So
But Gary grew up here?
he did.
Okay.
Yeah, and he came in 1940. Juan and Willie were living in Iowa, and it just was getting worse and worse. The conditions back in the 40s, 30s.
Yo,
the 30s.
yes. Okay, yes.
There were family after family coming from Arkansas, Iowa,
Yeah.
Missouri, whatever. Yeah, I think you're all.
Yeah.
So
Your family's from there.
they came and landed in Wenatchee, but the Bennett's side of the family, Edna and John Bennett, it's Gary's grandmother. That's Wanda's mother. And they said, well, come to Manson. Their land is cheap, and you can have a job.
now.
You can pick apples if nothing
be
else.
nice.
Yeah. So they did, and they did not choose to grow apples, though. They decided to start a variety store. And
The penny
okay.
candy,
Penny Candy,
which is now Whaley's North Shore. It was
or
Grandma
was
Grandpa's.
North Shore.
Oh, the
Is it
corner
something else
building.
now?
The white building
North
at
Shore
corner.
Cafe.
Closed,
I
but
think you said in your email you sent me from 1944 to 1977. Is that right?
1940, yeah, they bought, yes. He opened in 44, and that was during wartime, and getting clothes or getting anything at all was kind of hard to do, so they just took what they could get
Right.
and resell it.
I have a
yeah.
funny story about
Wow.
that. I got in big trouble at that store.
Oh, okay.
What'd you do?
I did. I had they were selling a little parachute. So it was Gary's mom and dad. All right, so they were selling a little parachute that you put on the end of your bicycle, and I was convinced that if I
could
went
fly.
fast enough
You could
off,
fly.
that if I went fast enough off of a
I have an
loading ramp,
8-year-old boy. I know
could-
exactly what he's thinking.
Oh, Tim tried to fly too, and he has a broken arm.
Were you okay?
But here's what happened. I didn't get in trouble for that part. My dad was okay with me dying. It was the fact that I borrowed the $2 from my grandma Daisy
Oh,
To buy it.
to buy it, and then I had to like mow the lawn for her. You know, Daisy lived right around the corner for the next 27 years. So,
Was it worth it?
It was like a .00001 per mow.
She gave me an iced tea every time. Though, so Lipton iced tea. It was good. It was
There
good.
you go.
So that was a funny story. I was pretty embarrassed. My dad made me say I was sorry, and I had to go back to the store and tell him I shouldn't have done it. And then,
Wow.
you know, I was like 7 years old or something.
but was the experience
I still remember mowing lawns for 27 years.
Obviously, there's good impact.
not about that?
No, it's
Yep.
good. It was good. So had you been? So Gary grew up here. Have you been to Chelan before you met him?
Yes, my parents were campers. We always piled everybody in the car
Okay.
and took off and camped around the state. And Mount Rainier was a favorite, but Lake Chelan, I learned how to dive from the state park. I was 13 years old.
I'm learning something new.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to dive. I could swim. I mean, I could get all around in the water.
Yeah.
But I wanted to dive because all the bigger kids did, and I was 13, and I was going to keep up. I broke every blood vessel on both sides,
Oh, just smack in the water.
smack in the water before I was done.
Way to commit.
But I did dive.
Yeah.
You made it work.
Belly
that day,
flop.
huh?
It sounds like.
I love it.
So I loved Lake Chelan just because it taught me something. Yeah.
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 So, but I never thought I'd be living right across from the state park.
Right.
Isn't
Yeah,
that funny
you
how
never
things
know,
always
right?
work
You
out?
never know.
That is
what
so
Willow
happens.
Point, Lake, home sweet home. Yep.
Well, I have lots of memory stories because of the Phelps house with Willie Miller's store. And those Phelps boys
All
making
the
their way
kids,
down
yes,
every year before school started. Elaine took them all to
Yeah.
Willie Miller's store, and they got their Chuck Taylors
Old-
tennis shoes, the old canvas tennis shoes, and their one pair of jeans and one shirt for the school
Oh my
year.
gosh. this
Yeah.
is so how
And
it was.
yeah, and he just was such a generous
Well,
shop owner and
yes.
so
Well,
kind to the community
Yeah.
and extended credit when credit needed to be extended and helped people along
and he
the
loved
way.
kids, and
He
so
did, yeah.
candy was pretty easy to get.
Yeah,
we
oh,
love-
always.
I
that's
love
a-
penny candy
Yep.
still to this day.
Yep.
Mostly the ice cubes. Where's 5
Chocolate.
cents for the ice cube candy, and now they're like 50 cents.
Yeah,
Oh my
right.
gosh.
If you can find them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then you had Ernie across the street. So
Yeah.
And right.
got your tires
Oh, that
pumped
was
up.
later.
That was
Big-
later.
Well, I think when they opened, Jess Peck had his garage there.
Okay.
Peck and Guston,
Mm.
and there was up the street was a hardware store that became Seabay,
Right.
but
The lemon tree.
yeah,
The lemon tree, the
uh,
little
Modest
penny
Slims,
seats and
yeah.
the green seats. Yeah.
Yep.
and yes, and they also had a Western Auto store. Do you remember when
My mom
Bing
worked
DeMar?
there at Western Auto
She did.
in Manson. Yeah, before she worked at the bank.
What
Yeah.
year would that have been?
Must have been in the 70s, huh?
I think it
Because she
had,
worked
or
at the bank
before.
25 years
Yeah, a long time.
at Seafirst and Chelan, but she was out here, and I think you said it in your email. I mean, people did whatever they had to do, so they would often work in the
Right.
packing sheds. My
Packing
mom
sheds.
did that too, and
Yeah.
that was pretty common, I believe. You mentioned that. Was it true that, I remember my dad going, and it was a lot of families and a lot of women were on the sorting and packing during harvest at that time. That was kind of a rite of passage. It was just something.
It was, and I could hardly wait to get it on the sorting table
Right.
Yeah.
because
then
I
you
wanted to be
hardly
one
wait
of
to
the
get
women.
off.
And for people who don't know what that is, if they're listening to this, so the apples are going by on a conveyor belt,
Yeah.
and
C
you're
grade,
bunch of
B.
people sitting there, and you're looking for the
Cold.
bad apples.
Kind of like Lucy with the chocolates. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was so
And it's
funny.
hard work. It's hard work to sit there and
Yeah, it is.
stay
Well, I had to
focused
do
and-
that because I was usually pregnant, and then when I got past that, I liked to sell pack apples.
Yeah.
I did the trout shed for 5 years, the golden cells,
Yeah.
and that was a big experience. You learn a lot in a packing room when it's money on the line, and those apples that are coming down the chute, they want the big ones. The one before and after me, yeah.
Yeah.
So I learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It
it was
is.
fun.
it is a way to get into the industry without being out in the orchard.
It was. I like that
Yeah.
part. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I did one summer thinking I could
Be in the orchard.
work.
What did you do? Were thinning?
Yes.
Thinning.
And they gave us the block that was all the trees that you didn't really need a ladder for.
Yeah.
You know, like they knew the girls from UW for the summer
Well,
were
we
not
were three
like
girls
super tough.
growing up, and we were in the orchard. Dad would let us be in our bikinis, right? He had
We had to
one
get-
worker,
that's how we got him out there.
but he
You didn't get a
literally,
tan.
whatever we did, he knew he would have
Come
to
back
go
and-
back and do it right.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, re-thin.
It was so
re-
hard.
Prune. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, you get a whole different level of respect for farming apples.
But I
when
love the
and-
Mariners,
are doing
love the
that.
Seahawks.
Yeah.
That's all. You know, we had the radio going. Mom
On
and Dad.
Saturday
yeah.
out at harvest time, especially Saturday, picking apples on a Saturday, and you can listen to the games, and it was just we were a family. And
Yes.
really, truly, we counted on them because they were all born a year apart, and they had
Young
to
and
all work.
able and
Yeah.
I just had a special moment just a few months ago. Dad he dries apples for the, he used to make them for the farmer's market.
yeah.
And he wanted some more, so they had left some on the trees at Buck Fruit, and so Dad and I went in and we were picking apples together. It was
just here recently.
you know, and he's 85 years old, and yeah, it was really sweet. Yeah,
Yeah.
meant a lot for me.
Love that.
But
you
why
guys
don't
have
you
had a
tell
tight-
'em-
You've had a tight family always
Well,
and still do.
yeah.
I mean, you're very
Yeah,
close.
but to get them to go out in the orchard and work, and these were girls, teenagers, we kept telling them during the pruning, early. Just think what you're doing for your build.
Did it work?
You're building a bus while you're out there pruning.
No way. That is
Mother.
so. Whatever you got to do, though.
That's
I'm telling
right.
you.
That's
I
right.
just had a conversation with my son that I said, "You're a farm kid, and farm kids are strong.
Yeah.
Farm kids they're stronger. If you have animals, you end up with healthier immune systems." And
And
he's, you
it
never
works
know if
to a
kids are
point.
listening.
Yeah.
And then a couple days later, he goes, "Wait, so I'm strong?"
Aww.
I'm like, "Yeah, you're carrying hay twice a day and
Yeah.
shoveling
Oh, gosh,
manure, and yes,
Good job.
Yeah.
built in."
That's right.
Could take
part of
Thank
the
you for
process.
not having
PE.
animals. I'll thank you now.
Do not tell him to take his shirt off in PE. We do not need that. He would do it. I spent 7 years of his life trying to get him to put clothes on. You know, when you live on a farm, you just run around naked.
Right. Part of the
I don't think you need me to comment.
Moving on.
No,
Moving
yeah.
on.
These, Mandy, her sister,
My
and
oldest
Mona
sister.
were
We were best friends
Yeah.
all growing up.
Yeah, I've
It's like she was my sister all
It
growing up.
really, yeah. I was the little tag along. Mona didn't mind me tagging along.
Not-
Mandy didn't really love it a whole lot.
I love her.
But
Yeah.
yeah, lots
Yeah.
of fun Mona memories.
That,
She,
you know when I hear about them? At least 5 years after they occurred.
of course.
And then
of
I
course.
learned how
That's the
you
statute
know
of
that.
limitation.
Right,
Your
when you're not
parents
going to
know
get in
that.
trouble anymore.
That's the
We know.
amnesty period. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
We've had a
5
few.
years
Tim
ago.
and I mostly have fessed up a few things. Yeah.
Tell the story about Tim learning to drive.
Are you sure? No. So we were out by the lakes, and I had my license.
How old is he?
He was probably only like 12, 13, but he wanted to
It's
drive.
farm legal.
She
And I
just
was
got
like,
her license. I can
Okay,
teach you.
and we had the old Bel Air, which Randy
Oh.
Reed made into a convertible. You know,
fun.
remember?
Oh my
but
gosh.
We're in the Bel Air. We're going where you can either take a right or a left.
At the end
And
of
I was
Walk
giving
the
Tim
Lake.
too much information. I was like,
Oh.
put on the brakes, turn your blinker on, and he hit the gas, and we went straight up the embankment. And he didn't let up. I heard cuss words coming out of his mouth that I didn't even know. And he wouldn't take his foot. I'm like, Tim, stop. And we finally get out. We're looking at the car going, oh my gosh. Here comes this. To this day, I don't remember who it was because I was traumatized.
A little frantic, yeah.
And he was in a big truck. He had all his lovely Hispanic workers in the back. And he drove up and he's like, Mona, of course he knew my name. Do you need some help? And I'm like, yes, but please don't tell my mom and dad.
Yeah, totally. That's all we care about.
They pulled us off the bank. And I go, Tim, I'm driving home. And we drove home. We parked the Bel Air. We ran to our bedrooms. And the next morning, I remember Tim and I, we got up, we were in, and Dad was just getting in the car, and he's driving, and the dirt clods were falling out of the exhaust and under the car.
Going four-wheeling again.
And they never knew. Never.
Oh, my.
Nobody ever. Whoever the farmer was, if you're listening, thank you so much. Tell me, call me, tell me who you were. I'll bake you cookies.
Oh my gosh.
So who, is it Susie then Kathy, or Kathy, Susie, Mona, Tim?
Susie's the oldest.
Susie's
So Susie, Kathy, Mona, Tim.
Yes.
And 1 year apart.
Those three are. And
One year-
then
6
5
years.
years later,
Yeah.
6?
6.
Yes, he's 6 years younger than Mona.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like
And
his
so
mom.
he's the same age as
Yeah.
Des.
Right.
Yeah.
Tim and I were.
Yeah, but you played ball with
1988.
Yeah,
him.
we
Man.
play ball together all the time. I've got some
Oh.
great videos of Tim
Oh,
coming
you
off the
had-
football field, having
Yeah.
hollering.
Well, you guys are both superstars.
Yeah, he was,
Yeah,
a,
you
he was
were.
a good man.
Yeah. So,
It's fun to play with. Always inspirational. Always happy.
Nice. He
Yeah.
still is.
Yeah.
He really
No,
is.
I've enjoyed, we've worked for your family the last couple of years with Tim
Mm-hmm.
and then Susie's 2 places, and it's been fun. It's fun to be able to be in real estate and help people, achieve their goals and to reconnect with people
Nice.
that you haven't
Yeah.
seen in a while. So does everybody? Tim lives in Florida,
Still in Florida.
and
Just started.
Susie's back here. Is
Yeah.
Kathy
in Monroe.
in a row?
She's just 3 hours away.
Right.
So,
And I'm in Chelan.
Okay. So
And I'm with Mom all the time.
so you got,
So great.
well, you
I
look
love it.
fantastic. You look like you haven't aged a minute since I saw you
well,
last. So.
I have
Doing
to
great.
credit the life that includes walking. And years ago, well, I think Tim and Kristen had just graduated from high school in '88, and Nikki Allison said we were good friends because Tim and
Jennifer.
Jennifer had dated during high school, so we were good friends. And she said, "I'm going to start a Weight Watchers program, but I have to get exercise. I have to do an hour a day of walk. So will you join me?" So I said yes, and that was 35 years ago. So
She still walks with the same ladies.
but we
It's
just
so
do 2
incredible.
miles now instead of 3.
She's
Yeah.
not crying because she's sad. She just has her eyes watered.
Well, and Gary was always into fitness too. I mean, he ran and bicycled
Bicycle.
He
forever.
did 3
3 marathons.
marathons.
Yeah.
Hawaii, Honolulu.
Yeah.
Oh, those are the ones to get into.
Did
Right,
a 400-mile
Hawaii, yeah.
bicycle trip across southern Oregon with a group.
There wasn't a day for years that I don't remember him seeing.
Remember
him
Larry
on.
Seifert and Dad? They did every canoe race, bicycle.
Yeah.
He would bike down to Valley Vap to go to work every day.
Yes.
From
Way
Manson.
back, way back.
Yes,
I
down
remember.
that Chelan Falls Hill.
What?
Yeah.
I remember seeing him. That's when you're referring to.
Now you don't want to bike on the highway. I mean, that's,
No,
Dangerous.
yeah, don't do it.
Texting makes
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
kind of hazardous on the
Okay,
road.
so let's get into some of your small town shenanigans. I think Apple Blossom has been a really
It-
large part.
it has. It,
Huge
way
part.
back. Gary's grandmother Bennett, Edna and John. Edna did
The Royal
Crowns.
Crown Maker.
the crown maker
Oh,
for
that far back.
Yeah.
back in, she started like in 39 and 40.
Which
her
had to
daughter-
be some of the very
1948.
first Apple Blossom.
1948. was-
48 was her first
Marjorie.
one. That was it. Yeah.
Okay.
And so her daughter Marge was a queen, so she made a crown for her, just something that would look like a crown. But she used shells, little pink shells that she.
They're called Apple Blossom shells.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking to the fourth
I know, I
generation.
know, I know, I
Crown
know.
maker.
I love this. I have one of the
through the
crowns.
years.
You have one of the crowns.
That's right. That's right. So down through the ages, it's been mostly family that has made. In fact, most of them have been
I can't.
between.
My daughter's Emma is crafty. Allie doesn't really do crafts, and so I'm trying to talk to Hudson to make him because he's a crafter.
That's awesome.
But if we can't get anybody, Miss Kelsey, who, she was
Kelsey Hardy.
queen, and she really wants to do it. So
But the
we're going to
crowns-
adopt her.
Yeah.
So she's part of the family.
Okay.
There we go.
Another one. But the crowns have made such an indelible effect on people that had to wear them, and so I've been proud of the fact that it was first grandma and then her daughter-in-law Nita Bennett, then Nita's daughter-in-law Susie Bennett, Mel
Okay.
and Susie, and then her granddaughter. This would be Edna Bennett's great-granddaughter.
Yeah.
This
Well, I
one's
still got to
ready.
get you my crown so you can
Please
fix it
do.
up because
I add a little bling bling to women's crowns that if you
yeah,
want a little
mine
more
needs
sparkle.
mine needs some zhuzhing, and I was very excited because when our house burnt down, here on the lake, burnt to the ground. My crown survived.
Wow.
Really?
And I
In
was
that box?
pretty excited. Yes, and
Yes.
it's still in that box.
I know. I have the same box
Love
too.
that.
Yeah.
But I had put it in. My grandma had bought me a hope chest when I graduated, and it was in that hope chest, and so it didn't. I don't know, for whatever reason, that hope chest
It was meant
made
to
the
be.
cut.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
So I
I
got
probably
to
have my mom's in a box somewhere.
I
too,
think you
from
do.
Some 50. She was
52.
56, and my sister was, Kelly was 73,
Yeah.
maybe.
After
I'm making a
pandemic.
book right now of all the past, and I've seen plenty of pictures of your mom, your
My
sister.
mom and Marilyn Schultz was
Marilyn.
the queen, and I can't recall the other person.
Rita Pittman.
We're just so lucky to have this
Yeah.
tradition in
not
Manson.
sure.
Seriously.
That we
It's-
all want
yeah.
to come home for the holidays. I mean, we try not to ever miss Apple Blossom because it's just when it brings the whole community
Mother's
together.
Day weekend.
Yes. Yeah, we're so
A lot of
fortunate.
good stuff. It's true. It's true. And I always, the crown, because it's so unique, and when you go other places, no one else is wearing
No.
anything like it. So it's a
No.
wonderful topic of conversation with other
Yeah.
people, and it opens the line of, so what's your town like? What's your tell me the story behind your crown, and just to be able to share with people that, oh no, this has been going on for generations. We just have these wonderful traditions behind our Apple Blossom and festival, and
She was very proud of each one of them.
I
that she
learned
had,
a
too.
hard lesson on Wenatchee's Apple Blossom. My very first crown I made, it was the 100th year, right?
Oh, geez,
they
pressure.
wanted, go big or go home. So I have learned now to size down my crowns because it was quite large.
And
But
big.
I had made, the big apple blossom in the front. And Teresa was our queen.
In
And
Wenatchee.
for Manson's, but we were in Wenatchee,
Wenatchee.
but it was so hot. And the crown itself, I had enclosed in one of those like Tupperware kind of lock it in, and I had used a glue gun. And so right before the parade started, that large
Yeah.
twig and fell off. And they're all like, Mona! And I was there, of course, and I'm like, and I had some Gorilla Glue with me.
Of course you do.
It was not what I should have done because that Gorilla Glue, because it melted down and went in Teresa's hair. And her crown was stuck on her head when she got done.
It's good commitment. I like that.
Yeah, I learned. You
hard to sleep
learned
though.
a little.
Gosh.
Oh yeah, poor Teresa. And I never asked her if she lost hair. Or,
Yeah.
Had to cut it
But that was
out
my
or what?
introduction to. Let's use a little more cement glue instead of.
Do you
Glue
think?
gun.
I'm curious about the generational and in that context. Have things changed? You said it brings a lot of people together, and that's consistent. Have there been changes in the pageant? Changes in the
Parade.
Parade.
change.
Not so much.
just kind of the
Well,
consistency?
if you're going way back, they even had a lieutenant governor come to crown our queen a couple years in
Oh,
Wow.
in
fancy.
probably the late 40s.
The one
or
thing I
50s.
do miss is
Yeah.
our chicken noodle dinner. That
Me
we-
too.
Yes. It was such a tradition.
So
I know.
good.
Yeah.
like watermelon
Those
spitting
handmade
contest.
It's
noodles.
kind of like the terrace,
Yeah,
the apple pie
that's right.
jamboree does their sloppy joes.
Yeah.
I mean, these are traditions. It
Yeah.
would be nice to go back to.
That would be amazing.
You can be chairman.
Oh, mother.
You know what though? I also liked when there was the dance in town.
Oh yeah, I was
Yeah.
just thinking
Great.
that.
That
Remember
was
Larry
super
Clark
fun.
sitting on the chair as we did, and you go that way.
Yeah,
you go
yeah,
that way, you go that way. You go that way.
I thought that was
Remember?
really fun.
I know it's obviously stuck
Anybody
in my
out there
mind.
listening, if you want to volunteer.
We need a couple more things on our docket.
Yeah.
But
Okay, now
That's
did
great.
you teach us how to dance too?
No, I
Who
think
taught
that
us how to
Pat
waltz?
Barata.
No,
Yeah.
it was a couple.
oh, how to do the waltz?
Yes.
Oh, that's Larry Clark.
Larry Clark taught
Larry-
my
yeah.
group how
Yeah,
to waltz. I
right.
don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know who.
It was an older couple.
I
Well,
don't
There's
know.
it right now.
We need more information than that.
Well, I don't know. Okay, I was
Larry
like
was a good
16. I
dancer.
don't remember.
He was great.
I
He
remember,
was
you
so
know, the
light on
box
his
step
feet.
is so
Oh, yeah.
easy, boom, down. And it was that a few years ago, maybe it was Kara's boyfriend. He had never danced and he needed to go out. And I said, here we go. And I was like, boom, boom. And
Yep.
he did. And he went out and she's looking at him like, You're dancing with me. It was just
so good.
I know. So it would be fun to have maybe.
So they don't do the grain shawl dance anymore?
They
No,
do. Yeah.
they
Well,
don't.
They
No.
did in March.
The grain shawl's not a grain shawl.
The grand.
It was the
Grand
Legion
March.
Hall.
Legion Hall.
Legion Hall.
There is a Grange Hall
I was
that
thinking-
could
I was
have a
thinking the
dance
Legion Hall's
downtown.
now businesses. So
We do
that's
it on
true.
Coronation. We still do
Yeah.
the March.
Do you?
We do it.
Okay.
But I mean, there was like a town dance
Right.
right.
The,
at
the ball,
Legion
the
Hall
Queen's
at the
ball.
night. Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Right.
the part
I think
that
we
was
thought
so
about
fun.
bringing it out onto the main street.
Let's have a street dance.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That would be
Again, we need volunteers. There's only like a core of 7 of us.
fun.
8.
Yes, trying to
That-
do it all.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you about that because we're talking a lot about things change. It's inevitable.
That's the only
Yeah.
concept
We
there
go back
is.
to my grandma Daisy and your Gary's parents, and it's not the same. It's still
Right.
it's still an amazing place. It's not the same, and most of the guests so far that we've had like Earl Stanford and Otto Ross and Carol Wills, and there's Otto was 99, Carol was 83,
He's
and
still
Earl was
skiing.
90.
He sure is.
Nice.
What a stud.
So it's kind of like what seems to change, and what from your perspective, when you look back in time and you have your memories of raising your kids and now, what do you think about when you think about
It takes a village, and Manson was a perfect place to do it because they're really kids left the house in the morning and they came home for dinner, and they were gone all day, and we live on a lake, and you
She
just didn't
never
worry
knew
about
it.
it.
Muffin Millette and myself, best friends, we'd get up in the morning, go down to Willow Point, and they would not even care about us until we came home for dinner. They just
Just
knew
show up
we
for
were
dinner.
somewhere.
well, if you were home before dark, it was something was wrong.
Yeah, well,
the
they put them
problem?
to work.
Did you get a
Right,
ticket?
right.
What did you do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
like
true.
Get
Don't
out
come
of
too
here.
soon.
Don't go home for
I mean,
nothing.
Yeah, same.
I think,
We did.
Russ, you felt that hometown care of in your family. They've been here for so long. All the McClellans and all the.
Yeah, it's and
Yeah.
it still has its. I think there's still magic in the town.
There is. It's just not a core. We
Yeah.
don't
You
have a
think,
downtown
what would,
core.
What would bring it all back? What?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I've been sharing my hometown for this is my 35th year in real estate, right? So I've been sharing it for a lot of people for a long time, and I think in a lot of ways it's enhanced the town. There's a diversification of people, and I think there's a lot more love than judgment in general.
Yeah.
I think there's some addiction to social media on a negative side that I think is in the last decade or so, but
That goes.
it's not, in my opinion, I don't see it day to day. You can find it if you go on the internet. You can
Yeah.
find if you go to certain, you want to find negativity, it's always been there.
Right.
There's always that if you want to search it out. But I think that the vast majority of people are good people. So I don't think it's a bad thing what's happened. I think it's more difficult to raise a family. I think it's more difficult to be able to live here because of the
Well,
economics.
When we started out, a 10-acre orchard would raise a family of 4 or 5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you can't
And you
even.
could work it.
We would work it, right? And
Yeah.
Gary usually hired one other guy, Reese, who came and when he was sober, he was just a really good, good job.
Well, people laugh, but the quote unquote winos was
That was a staple.
that was
Yeah.
how you got stuff done with that
Yeah.
workforce that would migrate over from Seattle and Skid
Right.
Row for harvest for
And they
thinning
were
picking.
welcomed because
100%, yeah.
and Willie would go down and cut their hair. Practice
Did
a
he?
few barber skills, yeah, way back because he could do it. He had scissors.
Yeah, yes.
I read
Well,
a-
they
You know,
have
if
the-
you remember Willie, he would do anything.
This will be a little trivia question, but I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the author Stephen Pressfield. He wrote a book. Well, he wrote a lot of books. He wrote a book called The War of Art. Not The Art of War. That's a different one. That's about battle. The War of Art actually mentions in that book where he was working in the Lake Chelan Valley picking apples in
Is
the
that right?
60s.
Wow.
And he was working with a combat Marine who was pretty messed up from Korea and lived on the streets, but he would come over and this book is interesting because it was really difficult picking. They picked Rome's, which is really hard on
Oh,
your
like
hands.
the last
Yeah.
of the season too. It's cold
And cold, right?
Yeah.
And so he said he was about 20 something in 66, I think. And the guy was older. He's like, how do you pick 10 of these bins a day? And I'm only picking 2 bins a day. And you're an old guy that's drinking all the time, living on the street. So how do you do it? And it was all about, it's a mindset book. And
Yeah.
he goes, the Marine looked at him and he goes, I do it painfully.
yeah, and this is
But
true.
I was pretty astonished when I read that part about how that was evidence of the workers, because prior to the migration from Mexico, there was a different clientele, a different worker.
Yeah, and when I came was the first year they had bins.
Wow.
And that was,
Because you're
Instead
saying
of a box.
boxes.
yeah, instead of
they
the
would sell
boxes
things.
where you
Oh,
leaned
my.
over, every man, orchardist I knew had a bad back because you went down and didn't know how to pick up that 40-pound box 18,000 times a day because you had to take it from the ground to the sled and then from the sled to the orchard.
Those were big trees back then.
And they were tall trees
You
and
are
big
old.
ladders.
Getting younger by the minute. Sandy. That's awesome.
Yeah, I had forgotten, and they just self-sorted in the
Well,
orchard.
it changed the
They
whole
just-
industry, really, because a man with a tractor could do the work of 4 men.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Gary had a Durette, so it would take him up and
And
down.
Dad's still on his tractor.
He has to have his tractor.
So how many acres did you guys farm when you
We
were...
farmed, we bought the Art Lake home place up on Totem Pole Road past the high school.
So it's now the Koenig, the cider place.
Cider, it's Rootwood
Oh,
cider
It's
now.
our old orchard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we started with
18?
18 acres, but I was trying, the varieties, we had 5 varieties that he could go through the maturation period in a timely manner and get all to the Romes and the wine saps
In the very end.
in the very end, yeah. But
So
they're
how
delicious.
long did you guys stay in the farming business?
From 62 till 80,
Yeah, because when I graduated,
Yeah.
we were probably just selling it in 82.
82 we sold, yeah, to the Koenigs. And he's farming it. I mean,
Yeah.
he's keeping it going and
They're,
it's doing a really
super
good job.
creative with their
Oh, they
cider
are.
and their different varieties.
Yeah.
They
Talk
planted
about
to
a learning
support their
curve.
cider and
Yeah.
yeah, my
Yeah.
kids love that place.
Oh.
They're there as much as they can be tasting those ciders.
Love it.
Yeah,
Just supporting the community.
just
right?
supporting us, supporting
Keep their
the
dollars at
local
home.
people.
Well, and
Yeah.
Manson Growers is doing a different change and opening up that
Cider that's good for
cider
you.
Yes.
press.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
fantastic. It's a beautiful place to sit
It
and
is
have.
a beautiful place.
Tell them about
it's
that bottle if you buy the bottle that you can go refill
Oh
it.
well, the jug.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
the
just
growler.
you
That's
buy.
so great.
It's
Cider.
the size of a growler, yeah. And just they open the spigot and fill it up again. You take it off.
Fresh.
And they're coming out with all kinds of new things. They're doing a sparkling cider now.
Oh, they are.
Yes.
That'll be great this holiday season.
So when you were farming, when did you work? Like what years were you working at
Oh,
Cozy
I had.
and the Mirror?
Oh, I had to go back to work when the orchard died.
Because when we were in high school, you were a reporter
Mirror was
for
first. For
Cozy?
football games.
Yes.
Mirror was
Yeah.
first.
I
And
had
then
to
Cozy.
go back. No, I packed apples at Trout for the first 5 years, and then I thought this is not going to last long, and I'm looking for something else. So an opening at the Chelan Valley Mirror, I said, well, I could write a story, I think. I never had any practice except in high school, the newspaper,
Oh my gosh.
and I said I can do this.
You
So
did do
I
it.
did.
Yes.
To
And
hear
for 7
doing
years.
interviews on the radio, it was great.
You did it
And
well.
then, and then
I know.
Very well.
Jerry Eisenhart hired me away from there, and I worked 3 years for Cozy, and that was an experience in itself, because there's Steve Byquist and
Ray
Ray
Dobbs.
Dobbs and
Scott Brundage.
Scott Brundage.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
He'd love to
what
tell.
a-
Gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Those are like
I,
legacy people.
Right.
Well, Scott and I would do called football games, and Scott said, "You're my color person on the broadcast for this Manson High School game." Well, they're wearing blue uniforms,
I almost
and I think
Taking
his
it
mo-
literally.
That's all she knew.
And I just, when somebody, got hurt or laid down the grass too long, I thought his mother is going to be just beside herself. I hope she's here. Maybe I better go down. I didn't.
Well, I have
sweet.
that. Scott, when Scott was sick, Scott was very important to us in the football team. He'd
he
come in
was.
and speak at the beginning of the.
Yeah, he was.
And so, when we played in the Tacoma Dome, I almost brought it today. I had it converted to an MPV file, which is an audio file of that whole game. And Scott,
I still
his
remember
wife,
it,
his
yeah.
wife called me when he was sick, and asked. Well, I think she called me or I called her, and he really meant a lot to me. So I asked what I could do for him. She goes, I don't know, but I thought, I'm going to take these cassette tapes that we had, because I went to the radio station. I would get, when I was doing a lot of ads, I was getting those historical tapes, and I was copying them.
They were
So I put
absolutely
it into a digital file
dynamite.
and I took it to him while he was in his bed when I think he had cancer.
yeah.
And his wife said he listened to it over and over and over again.
Aw,
It's amazing.
sweet.
Like, first of all, if you haven't ever heard a game called by that guy, he made
Oh,
us
yeah.
sound like we were the NFL.
Yeah.
Weren't you?
His voice is special.
It
On it.
was.
Oh,
And then
the
you were
voice.
on, and I was going to bring it today and play it for you.
Oh my gosh!
I just have, but I'll get it to you
How
because it's
fun.
fun and Tim
I'd
would
love-
enjoy it
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
And then my dad had the videotape too, so I have you and the whole
Yeah.
town. My dad would scan the whole place with the. It was a very special time.
Nice.
How many pictures do you have that floats?
Maybe more than that. I haven't focused on that, but I bet I haven't. My dad videotaped everything.
I know.
Yes.
And
You're
they're
lucky.
Yeah.
That's
and-
awesome.
Well, Juan and Willie had the first float in the, and all it was an orchard work
Trailer.
truck that was real high, and so they just built a platform at the top, and the people sat up on top of
Is
this.
this
Oh,
what Dad was
wow.
on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
He was
was
a little
a
sailor at 5 years old or
Yeah.
something.
No
But
kidding.
the floats just got better and better.
Yeah,
Didn't-
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you were good at that sports stuff, so you.
Oh,
when
thank you.
It was fun to watch.
I-
It's fun to watch how
I had to
passionate you
dredge
were.
it up somewhere. I don't know where.
And then, she went from that to working at the building supply to Allison's to the Lake Chelan Sports. I mean, she made me think that I can't just do one job. I got to do a 10. And I have. I mean,
But
Stay
other
busy.
other than that, I never focused long enough to stay more
but
than
you
3
were good
years.
at whatever you put your mind to, you were so
Well,
good at.
when I was at the lumber yard working for Ed and Sharon, I
Beautiful people.
picked up a lot of information about, nails and joists and squares, things that and so I said, I can build a playhouse for our kids.
Oh my
She built the
goodness.
playhouse.
So I
It's still
built a
there.
playhouse for the grandchildren, and it still stands.
Oh, that's
It didn't
awesome.
blow over.
Now, how many grandchildren
Wow.
are we talking about these days?
Oh, we just had a get together with 42
Yeah,
people.
there were 42 at home, and we just made this. And if you're on our Facebook site, Kathy came up with this idea that she'd seen, and so it was mom and dad sitting there, and then us
So
four
great.
came in, and then
Oh,
our
yeah,
kids
I
came
saw
in,
that.
and then all the grandkids. And at the end of because we were so big this year for Christmas, we had to rent the boat club.
Oh,
Here in
fun.
Mance, because no house was big enough for all of us,
Yeah.
nor should we ever be in one house with that many. but it was a really cool video,
I
and
saw it. It was
I'll
beautiful.
watch it over and over because it
Yeah.
was just so cool.
And you see somebody new every time you play it. It's like, oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, who's that?
there. Oh, yes.
So you did
I
see
saw
it.
that too.
Oh, good.
yeah.
They all
it's-
saw it, Mom. How cool
it's-
is
Yeah,
that?
that's so
It's-
cool. That
it's-
was fun. Those were fun pictures.
Yeah.
and what a beautiful legacy.
Yes.
To you
Family
two.
is important, and every one of you felt that as you grew up.
Yeah.
We're so lucky to be from here.
We
You know,
really
we're
are.
so lucky.
Yeah.
I was always the one daughter that was. I had things to do. I mean, I was off. I was a flight attendant. I was living in Hawaii. Well, never come home, and I was the first one back home, and now I haven't left. I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
It's a great
So
place.
did you leave high school to be a travel agent? Is that the first?
I was actually a flight attendant.
Right.
I had moved to Hawaii, went to a year of college, which I had never drank a beer before. And I went to college and went, oh, that tastes pretty darn good. So I really wasn't concentrating on my schoolwork. So after a year at Eastern, I was like, and I just decided I'm going to move somewhere. Only had a place to stay for a week. I had no job, had no friends, knew nobody, and moved to Hawaii.
Yeah.
So from there, I became a flight attendant with American Airlines, and since lived in Hawaii 8 years, New York, New Jersey, Houston, Dallas, and
San Francisco.
San Francisco, back home.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got to see the world and
Isn't
realize
that,
there's no place
isn't
like
that,
home.
that excitement and ability to risk take when you're young so
Oh, yeah.
fun?
I
you
always
should.
wanted
Well,
to.
you should do it.
I
you're
wanted
young.
to skydive. Now I'm like, no, I like being in a
I
plane
mean, it's
too much.
hard
I'm not
when
going
you
to jump
get
out
older
of it.
and you
Yeah.
it just. I don't know what happens exactly, but I just remember that feeling of
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it.
It's a challenge.
I think
We're
I
still
haven't
all
done
wild
this
and
before.
crazy, right?
A little bit.
A
There's
little
a little
bit.
bit of that in us, I think. We're still
I-
But now I think
I know
about
there is.
like who's going to
Well-
feed the dogs,
Who's
right?
who's gonna feed the horse? The
Right.
miniature
Who's
horse?
who's gonna feed Jackie
Your
and
son.
Cheerio?
Yeah.
Right?
taught him
Like
well.
who's gonna
Right. The details of life.
the details.
No, I was gonna say, Sandy, you got to take some credit for her bravery of going all those places because you never sat still.
No, I
either.
worried about it.
She didn't sleep at night.
But you did a lot of things, showing
Right,
your
and-
daughters they can do a lot of things.
And don't ever think you can't do that. You can't take a new job, and move on to something and learn while you're doing
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
If you find
Learn
a
your
person
mindset.
confident enough in your abilities to open it up and
Yeah.
accept some failure to begin with.
I'm the one I really didn't. I mean, I liked school, but not at. But when I went back to college at Wenatchee, I actually wrote a program for the school for the radiology program, and which I would have never thought I could do.
Right.
And now I'm, moms. I help computers and finance. I'm like, I would never have thought I would have done all that stuff, but I know how to do it.
Right.
So
Well, it's a
different
for
world.
now until
It's a
another
big
year.
blessing to be able to be with your mom. I felt,
yes.
I felt that was.
Yeah. And
I
we're-
recognized the decision that I made to stay here was. I really understood it when my parents got sick, and then they were able to both pass away in my home, and I was like, yeah, that was the right call. We worked together every day for
Yeah.
35, 40 years. So
Well, your dad
It's,
and mom were special
yes.
too. I still remember that drawl and that look.
The
and-
cowboy hats.
Yes.
And,
Uh-huh.
Never went anywhere without his cat.
Very
No.
No,
signature.
neither did
and the
Jim.
boots.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
my mom actually, speaking about skydiving, I had her in indoor skydiving when she was.
Oh, what are
80,
those that
82.
raises you up?
Really?
Yeah, the thing
Good
about
for you.
dementia for her is she became super sweet and afraid of nothing. So I was joking around.
She
'cause
didn't become
she
sweet.
started.
She was
She
sweet
was
from the
sweet.
beginning.
She was super sweet. And
Yeah.
So sometimes dementia does the opposite.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
brain disease, right? So I thought her fearless behavior, I'd go, Mom, you want to go indoor skydiving? Sure, let's go.
Yeah.
I go,
love
then I
it.
thought, I have an idea, Mom. You can't really remember very much in the short term. You can remember in the past. So I just need you to rob a bank. And she's like, I'll rob a bank for you, Rusty. I go, you'll forget where the money was given. What are they going to do to you? She goes, I'm in. Will you
So
be my getaway
anybody out
driver?
there, if you no,
So she was fearless. Like she did whatever I suggested.
You
She
could-
was all in.
so we're
It's
not going to see
possible.
honor wanted
No.
on the
No.
post office
The
now.
It was close,
possibilities
Billy.
are endless.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
And think what you can do.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Well,
But
I am
Well,
super glad.
who
you're
thought
still
we
here.
would be, know somebody who had a relative that played the NBA? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the small
Life is
town.
Crazy.
Small
crazy
towns like
turns.
this.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. We all just gotta, take that next step forward. See
Too
where
bad
it
he's
leads
from
us.
Chelan, though, not Manson, right?
Oh, when you were talking about, Bubba was talking the other day about dating in high school, and he dated some girls from Manson and Chelan,
Right.
both.
Yeah.
But their father, Gary, could barely abide the fact that his daughters dated somebody from Chelan.
oh, that was
Manson Chelan that used to
They
be so.
did not
Oh
Thou
my
shalt not
goodness.
intermingle.
No.
Oh,
No.
my goodness.
I mean,
Yes.
you barely walk in their gym like, oh.
Yeah.
And then my kids go to Chelan. I love Chelan.
Yeah.
But Larry McFadden
Yeah.
and Bubba,
Kyle,
Kyle,
Cotter?
yeah,
Kyle
they
Cotter.
all
don't
went in
list all
a,
Susie's boyfriends.
yeah.
I think it was different. If you think about the small farmer and how you
Yeah.
could raise a family on 10 acres or 20 acres, and that stability that the apple industry had for all the little towns, I think it did emphasize some pride in each particular one. Like
We
the
thought we
tribalism a
were
little bit.
rich. We didn't know that we really didn't have a lot of money, but we felt like we did.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
yeah.
It was fun, and Earl Stanford was another guest we had, and he was in my dad's grade. And at 90, he was talking about how they used to get in fisticuffs at the dance hall, and then they buy each other a beer. I mean, it was a very competitive, very spirited, but then at the same time,
We got to
they
live
would be
together.
friends the
Yeah.
next
Yes.
day. It wasn't really hatred. It wasn't really this disgusting thing. It was a beautiful kind of a different time and a different place for men and women alike. But
Yeah.
the stories were very proud of each school had, and our rivalries were pretty intense. And
Yeah.
I don't know, are they still very intense? I mean,
Yes.
you would know more. Than
Yeah.
that.
As you would know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
each,
but
each
different.
school and community is
Yeah.
very proud of their school and their
Also,
community.
I feel like friendlier, too.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of friends between, but when they're on the playing
Yes.
field or the court, they're
Mean business.
they're very, very intense and competitive. But then they also spend time together
Yeah, off court.
Off the court.
There's a lot more, I think, friendships all around.
It seemed like
Yeah.
there was generational rivalries.
Yes.
where their dads were in the stands or their grandfathers were in the stands and they played each other.
You
Right.
know,
That's funny,
also era
Yeah.
related.
Yes.
Because I feel like the closer you were to those golden years in the 50s, where there's that illusion of the
There's
perfect
less
America,
people.
Yeah.
There's less people too.
I think that was a part of that story.
Yeah.
And
Well, there wasn't a lot to do either. So when you think about pre-internet, there's a couple channels on
Pre-phones,
TV.
yeah.
Pre-phones.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
does.
it's like, what do you do at 4:00 and it's dark
Yep.
in the winter? You're going to go to a gym. You're going
Yep.
to participate in whatever the community activity is because
Right.
there frankly isn't anything else to do.
And
You know,
there's
except
no
work.
way
That's
That's why
for
there were so many children. No.
yeah, exactly. No
Well,
way for
back
kids
to
to
back.
connect.
You talk about a small town, and the high school was only, Tim's class had 12
Yep.
in
We
it.
had 12. Yeah.
Well, that our house would hold everybody from the high school who wanted to come after the game for an after-school
After
party.
game parties were the best.
Of course. And so
Our
Movie
best game
popcorn?
ever was taking that big Hershey bar, wrapping it in a paper bag, tying it with string, and then you'd have a hat, a scarf, and gloves, and a fork and a knife.
Yeah.
And you're rolling dice, and whoever got a 6 going around the table or whatever number you choose, then they have to rip off the hat,
With the
glove,
fork and the
everything,
knife,
and
yeah.
then start trying to get into this bar of chocolate. And did you not ever do that with Tim?
that
We did
was
not
not a
have
game.
that
We-
game.
we
That
put
did
up-
not continue.
we didn't buy a new dining room table till
Yeah,
after.
because it's all with the forks.
Our
Everyone's trying to
after
get-
game parties were a movie and like
Popcorn.
Oh.
popcorn, and some mom might make cookies or something,
Oh,
and
no,
it
we
was
played
all figured
games.
out at the game.
Right.
It was like,
Where are we going?
Who's having the having the? Can you do it? Can you do it? I don't
about-
know. Let me ask my mom. Okay, but and then
Yeah.
Yeah. Or who rented the VCR from downtown this
And
weekend
picked out that
picked
movie.
out a
Yeah.
couple of new movies
Yeah.
so we could
VCRs.
right. Because
right.
you had to
Yeah.
rent them. You didn't own them.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how is Gary doing? I wish
He's
I-
doing okay. He has
okay?
neuropathy from the knee
His
down.
legs
so
are.
his balance is worse.
But if you want a puzzle put together, that guy can put puzzles together.
That's great.
About
Yeah.
every 2 days, he's got a new puzzle of the 1,000 piece. But
Wow.
Okay, well, I have a puzzle exchange on the
Nice.
porch.
do you?
Yes.
Well,
so
keep it in
bring a
mind.
puzzle, take a puzzle.
Well, his son,
That's
who
smart.
lives in Florida, said, "Dad, at Christmas, your present is one puzzle a month that'll come in the mail, and you have to
Oh,
put it
that's
together."
great.
Oh,
Well, this last one already arrived, 2,000 pieces.
Oh my gosh.
And Gary looks at it and he says, "I need 2 tables and a month."
Yeah.
awesome.
That's
He-
incredible.
he'll
Yeah.
do it in a few days.
Oh no!
I was
no,
trying to
don't
teach him
think
how
so.
to do Mod Podge so he can put the puzzle together, glue it, and keep them instead of just tearing them apart. It's like, Dad,
Yes,
Yeah.
but you exchange.
Right.
We do the
Swap them
exchange.
out and get new ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't do puzzles. I wish I could sit there with him, but
Oh my gosh.
I can't
I'm
either.
with him. I'm addicted.
are you really?
Once I start, it takes over. I wanna-
Really?
Allie used to, as a little girl, she would put them together just like that, and so I'd flip them over, and she'd put them together upside down, and put them back together. I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your daughter Allie's done well in real estate.
Yes, she's
Right? Property
she's
management. Right?
she's got about
Vacation
40
property.
vacation rentals right now. So I work for her because I'm her top maid, and
Nice.
my ex-husband
I
Chris
saw Chris. Yeah.
works for her, and her husband does too. So
Alex.
Allie has 3
Wonderful.
She's got a family-oriented
So
business.
great.
It's great that we can call in if we can't work, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Allie, you know, if I can't do this, you know. But she's great.
That's fun. And with 42 grandchildren, I bet it's
Not 42 grandchildren.
42
42
people.
all.
All
There,
of us.
there's 12 grandchildren,
Okay.
and then from there, there's 11 or 12 greats. And then
Well, that's- I
think
we're
we're
fifth
just under
generation, we
25,
have one
yeah.
great.
well, that's still a lot of
nice.
kids.
Back on
It
the other
is.
coast.
a lot of kids to communicate with.
Winter, we're going to try to be smaller and then have everybody come in the summer because it's just so much to be inside, you
Yeah.
know. With,
Yeah.
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 Well, you have had a blessed life, and you've earned it. You know.
We've had an extraordinarily
I'm just so
advantageous-
glad that we still get to enjoy you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
It
do.
really is true.
Do. Because I lost my mom young.
Yes,
And so
you
every
did.
time I see people with their parents, I'm like, oh, just
Soak it up.
soak it up.
Mm.
Yeah,
agree.
love them up
Yeah. Yeah.
every minute.
Have you talked to my kids?
I will. I'm serious. I do. Friends will say, oh my gosh, I listened to you, and I gotta go call my mom. I'm like, yes,
That's
And
I
do it.
do.
And it's still, if I have problems going on, I'll go right in, Mom, I do talk to you, and it's so nice to still have.
Yes.
You know, my dad,
It
I
is.
realized
It
my daughter
pleases
called
us.
my dad a lot, every day, twice a day. I didn't realize that until he passed away, and then I started getting a call every day, twice a day. And then she had to just explain to me how this works. I'm not supposed to solve anything. So she's very alpha. She's like, this is the deal. You just listen. Don't solve my problems. That's your job.
But I just need to talk to you.
And
That's the man woman,
Yeah.
the greatest thing. If you can figure that out,
Oh, I had
that's
to figure
the
it out. She told me
relationship
how.
dynamic that
Right.
makes it all work.
Yeah.
Don't.
And every once
Fix
in a while,
it.
I'll forget that my job is to just go, uh-huh.
Not too much advice.
Great
just-
talk.
That
Yep.
sounds hard.
Thank you.
Am I
See you.
done
Yep.
now? Okay.
Every once in a while, I'll forget. And then she's like, do I have to tell you again? You're not listening.
Yeah.
We're all
That's
very.
it.
You're
Can I
learning.
talk to my
Great
grandsons,
families.
please?
Never
You
stop
know what?
learning.
Yeah.
She's teaching you how to be a good spouse
She-
because if you are like that with your wife,
Hey, here's the thing. It took me
Winning.
30 years just to learn to do what women tell me. I'm a slow learner, but I do what they tell me now. My life got better.
We've been at it 65 years, and he's still teaching me that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it is funny. I can only imagine. I have two grandsons. It's hard to imagine 12 and then 12 or 25. It's a lot of. It's a lot of legacy right there.
Dad, when we're all home, I see that he doesn't put his hearing aids in.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like,
little
not,
bit much.
Not today.
Well,
Yeah.
he needs new ones. That's what my kid does. So she's a doctor of audiology. So
Oh,
I'm
my
not going to
goodness.
have that choice. She'll
Yeah,
be.
she'll know.
I'll be like, it's hearing aids. No, it's not
Where
the
is she?
hearing aids.
Where is she operating?
She's got a clinic by Paulsbo, by Bremerton.
Oh,
She has
yeah.
a couple clinics over there, and my son-in-law just became a deputy sheriff in Kittitas County, or Kitsap County.
Kitsap.
County.
Kitsap. Yes.
Yeah, so they're doing
Nice.
great. I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old
Wow.
grandson. The 2-year-old was in trouble, and I asked him, I go, why are you crying? He goes, I beat up Griffin. They're different kids. The 2-year-old is pure, straight through the wall. 6-year-old, very smart. And
So
Oh, well,
funny.
so I
It's
go,
the
you got in
older
trouble for
child,
beating up your
oldest
older
child.
brother? He goes, mm-hmm. So you're going to have your hands full. Paybacks.
You can almost tell if you're the oldest child in the family by it's so serious because as parents we were learning
Yes.
how to raise this kid, and by the time you get to this one,
We have no pictures of us.
Same in
Susie,
Frank's house.
Mom gives me pictures of Susie because she has so many, and Susie doesn't want me, so she gives them to me. I'm like, I don't need any more pictures of Susie. Yeah, I know I don't have any of me and
we
Kathy.
have a fair amount of everyone.
Susie
Yeah,
and
I'm
Tim
sure.
got it all.
Yes.
That is different. That
That's so funny.
turns that
And yeah.
wash it off and don't eat that turns into just
Oh
blow
yeah,
on it and eat
Yeah,
Yeah.
it. You know,
10-second rule.
you
Yeah.
need a little dirt in your life. Yeah.
a little dirt in your life.
Yeah. So
That's funny.
Aw.
Well, it's exciting. I mean, you guys, are you still every day waking up in the same house you've been in for? I don't know. When did you move there? That was
we moved there in 1969.
The old fort. It was the only house on Lakeshore or on Willow
Out there
Point.
in Willow Point,
yeah.
really?
It was not the only house.
We
but
always
there's
thought-
other ones.
Remember
yeah.
in the cement they had put their
feet.
feet prints of the forts, right?
the Fort family.
And we all
which is
thought they
also
were ours,
Koenig,
of course.
England,
We're trying to put
and,
our feet in there, like, okay, this is mine. This is
But yeah, we were darn lucky to get that house and be
what
able
did
to
you pay
raise them.
for it?
Well, it wasn't.
It was like 120,000, I think, wasn't it?
No.
Probably less than
Oh,
that.
I was going to
Less
say,
than
wow, that was
30,000.
30,000.
Yeah.
Yes.
30,000.
69.
Yeah,
That's-
1960.
And that was a big $240
It's a big
a month
risk,
payment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it was
mortgage.
low, but
Yeah.
that's really low.
That is
The mortgage.
That's really
Yeah.
hard to process.
No, my dad talks to me about, he was offered to buy a waterfront home once for like 80 grand. And,
I know.
but it was all relative, It's
I know
It's
we're
relative.
Why didn't we buy on the water? What's wrong with all of us?
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Well, I don't
Yeah.
know. Property taxes now
Yeah,
get
right.
take most people down.
Oh, it
True.
would. It would.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim Sackett was never going to be on the water. He was always going to be out there.
Hard to have
In
cows.
Well,
you
he's
guys-
got a pasture
You
around
guys
there
live in
somewhere.
the Bennett's old house, right?
We do, and I was going to
Yeah.
ask
Yes.
you, Sandy. I always know that we bought the Bennett house on Botsky's.
Mm-hmm.
But what Bennett is that, and how did
Oh,
they
that
get it?
would be no.
Oh, no.
That's Wayne Bennett
That's right.
is the brother to Wanda.
Okay.
Wanda was a Bennett.
Yes.
Right.
So that's Uncle Wayne. And when I came, he had a garage, a Chevron gas station on the corner where Timmy
Starkweather?
had her fromage.
Oh yeah.
Fromage.
That's CR Sandage
It's
now.
now
Yeah,
CR
CR
Sandage.
Sandage.
Yep, that used to be
So
an
that
old
was
gas
a
station.
Chevron gas station.
I remember
The
that.
town supported that Chevron, the Shell that had also a little diner with it, and Peck and Guston had the one across where.
Did the Shell with the little diner, did that become the store?
Yes, it did. That became the store that ran by.
So
Yeah.
so the
Buddy and-
Chevron.
Buddy and
Who was
Martha.
the Chevron?
Buddy
owner?
and Martha.
Who was the
No,
Chevron?
no.
Do you remember who owned the Chevron?
The Chevron was Wayne, but the Shell was.
Oh, the Shell before it became the store.
I know. I can't.
She'll
think
get
of
up
the
at
name.
midnight going, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember.
So Earl Stanford told me a story I hadn't heard about my dad and him racing their cars up the street, and they did it 3 times because they couldn't figure out who was going to win. They were too close. And the third time, Earl said the guy that owned the Chevron station stopped him and told him, "But you better go home right now. No more racing." So I bet that was Wayne.
That's right.
That's hilarious.
We'll
Yeah.
solve those problems.
Yeah.
Drag racing
Right.
down Main
Yeah.
Street.
But
Right.
the town had 3 grocery stores and 3 stations,
Wow.
Yeah.
and because we were 8 miles away from,
Yeah, nobody
Yeah.
wanted to drive the 8 miles.
that
to
was
get
a
gas.
long ways away.
You know, the thing is that I don't know. I don't know that there's a answer or that this would ever be possible again. But there's more people here now,
Oh,
and you think
No.
and the concept and the reality that if we spent more of our dollars in our own towns, we would be supporting each other
oh yeah.
in a
Yeah.
life-altering kind of way.
But you
Yeah.
have to realize that those that went out of business because we weren't doing it.
So should
remember-
we
you
tell them
remember-
you have a clothes shop going to go
We
on here?
had Jeff Peck's wife, Norma, had a clothing shop right where Larry Hibbard has his
Yeah.
architect and Vibe Cellars. And the price where Willie opened up used to be a grocery store, a big one. And Slim Warehouse, I had one up the street and did.
Yeah.
There was one more on.
There are that many grocery stores?
Yes, there was.
Wow.
And it was
I'll
people
remember this store.
started looking
Raised
other
I mean, there was
Sometimes,
two.
yeah.
Yeah, there was 2 when I was young here.
Parents, Dad, Ray.
That I recall.
But
Well, and I also remember a decade ago when we would walk through downtown Manson and there were very few storefronts open.
Yeah.
yeah,
There was a
right.
lot of empty,
Empty
spaces,
spaces.
there
They were
in the
starting,
not so
yeah.
distant past. And so,
That's
you
true.
know, however it's reviving itself, it is reviving. And
It's
that's
just
a
going to look
positive
different,
thing.
and
Yep.
that's just normal change
Yep.
going to happen. And now
Exactly.
you're concentrating on grapes instead of apples here. You don't know what 10 years from now is going to look like.
Exactly.
I just think every small town could benefit from the people in
Local
it
dollars.
putting their money back
Absolutely.
into their
Yeah.
into their hometown.
Well, there's a lot of wine drinking going on, so that's good.
A lot of that.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun to talk to friends, you know, and
Thank you, Rusty.
and really, I think I hope that you enjoyed this.
This is great.
We've been talking for like an hour,
Yep.
Oh, dear.
and it's just beautiful. I mean, it's just so good to see you, and I know we're all honored and humbled by the people that like yourselves that we have on this show, and we hope you've enjoyed it too.
I've enjoyed it
Mom has
tremendously.
done a lot for this community.
You
And even just even the farmer's market, Mom and Dad doing that. I mean, everyone knows the apple pies and
Oh,
Dad's apples.
and,
Yeah.
and all of Gary's vegetables.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we
Well,
always,
he loves the tomatoes, and so he's kind of incapacitated to do anything but tomatoes. But he's
Right.
thinking about selling tomato starts again this year.
Good.
Good.
So
Oh, you'd have so many disappointed people if you didn't.
I
Yeah.
no,
Oh, my
that's what I
gosh.
told him.
My
He
wife's
says,
all
"Well,
in; she'll be all over. it.
Yeah, I'm in too.
Yeah. So the tomato starts. he can do in the greenhouse. And
Well, tell
Right.
Gary hello for me.
Yeah.
I sure
Yes.
will.
Love that
do.
man and love you guys.
The rest
Yeah.
of
Thank
your
you.
kids and grandkids, all 42
Okay.
of you, tell them all hello.
Well, I appreciate him, and I know again how lucky we've been.
Love you.
All
Cute.
right, guys. Thank you.
What it's all about.
This one is the one we have to watch.
We all know Mona the wild
Time to
child.
sign off now.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you.
too, Tessa.
that's a different episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're off the air, right?